हेलो मेरा चाहिए तो आज हम देखने वाले हैं एक एक्सपेरिमेंट बाय गिब्स टैंक्स। बेसिकली एक लहसुन की कली से क्या हम फिल्टर आउट कर सकते हैं अपने एक्वेरियम को। एक लहसुन की कली घुमाए हमें गली गली। वीडियो का नाम है आई पुट अ गार्लिक इन माय एक्वेरियम फॉर 30 डेज एंड क्या होता है वही हम देखने वाले हैं। लेट्स गो।
Testing if garlic can grow and filter aquarium water under real aquarium conditions. I'll also be adding living creatures, so stay tuned because what happens completely surprised me.
ओके, लहसुन की बहुत सारी कलियां यूज करी गई हैं इस टैंक में और कोई फिल्टर का यूज नहीं करा गया है, सिर्फ लहसुन है। पार्ट वन, द बिल्ड।
I read online that garlic roots can become very long, so I decided to use a 10-gallon tank for this because it's relatively tall, but it's not so big that it will be impossible for the garlic to handle filtering the water.
ठीक है, आइडियल टैंक साइज फॉर दिस एक्सपेरिमेंट। ज़्यादा बड़ा हो जाता तो गार्लिक के लिए मुश्किल हो जाता, और छोटा रहता तो लहसुन की रूट्स कुछ ज़्यादा ही फैल जाते। गुड।
I decided to use
Fine
just sand for
sand.
this build because I won't be adding too many root feeding plants. I got this sand from Home Depot and it was only $7 for a 50-pound bag, so if you need sand for your tank, I'd recommend using this.
बहुत फाइन सैंड है। आई एम सरप्राइज टू सी कि इतना महीन सैंड का यूज़ करा जा रहा है। और द थिंग इज़ एक्चुअली इस काइंड ऑफ टैंक में फिल्टरेशन बहुत ज़्यादा नेसेसरी होता है, बिकॉज छोटे टैंक में अगर भर भर के प्लांट्स नहीं लगाते हो तो फिल्टर के बिना अमोनिया स्पाइक होने के चांसेस बहुत ज़्यादा हाई हो जाते हैं। ये देखना एक्चुअली काफ़ी इंटरेस्टिंग होगा। लेट्स सी।
Notification card to spread the sand around because it's -12 where I live, so I won't be needing it anytime soon. After spreading it around evenly, it's time to get the hardscape in place. These have been growing for a handful of months in one of my other aquariums, and their roots are insane, so I quickly bury them in the sand the best that I can. I rinsed the sand, but not as good as I originally thought, so the water's going to be cloudy for a few days. Even though I'm not adding a filter to this aquarium, I'll be adding an air stone and a heater to make sure that everything's healthy. Now it's time to get the experiment set up. I'll be using 2 plants for this, the first being green onions.
ना 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 ना, ये बेकार होगा, बेकार होगा। बिकॉज ये चांसेस कम ही रहते हैं इसके ग्रो करने का, बिकॉज ताज़े ताज़े कलियाँ। इससे बेटर है कि आप वो क्लोव यूज़ करो अगर आपको एक्सपेरिमेंट करना है तो।
Because I've heard they grow fast and are very easy to keep alive. These ones have a head start because they have half-inch roots already growing. But the main character here is garlic, because I know they can grow long and thick roots which will help filter lots of water, but for now you can barely see them. I custom made some holders that fit perfectly onto the tank and look great, but my first one didn't go so well and definitely looks a bit worse, but it should still serve its purpose just fine. The goal here is to have the roots just barely touching the water.
ओ अनियन, ओके, सॉरी, मेरे सुनने में गलती हो गया। ये लहसुन नहीं, ये प्याज है।
So that none of the bulbs rot. Once everything's in, we'll let the tank sit so the water clears up a bit and the plants can hopefully start growing. On day 4, the water's crystal clear and one of the garlic bulbs is showing its first sprout. All of the roots are growing super quickly as well. I want to keep this build super simple and let the onions and garlic be the stars of the show, but right now it's a little bit too simple, so I decided to add a couple plants in the back for a little more flair. I also think that the white roots of the plants will be hard to see without a background on this tank, so I ordered a black backdrop and I'll be throwing that on the tank to make it look more finished. Once the finishing touches are added, I'll leave the tank to cycle and we'll check back when it's ready for.
Oh, simple but clean. For the experiment it's fine, it's fine. हम यहाँ पे लहसुन की कलियों के फिल्टरेशन की पॉसिबिलिटीज को देखने आए हैं। Part 2, the fish and snails.
On day 14, all the plants have sprouted, and I'm honestly pretty surprised with how little the green onions have grown based on what I read online. All the roots are starting to branch out now, and I think the problem could be a lack of nutrients in the water, so I'll be adding a handful of snails to start building up that waste which the plants feed on.
Rams on snails.
Right away, some of the snails take off, digging through the sand and looking for food, while the other ones try and get their bearings and flip over off of their back. But a couple of snails won't be enough to feed these demanding plants, so we'll be adding in 8 white cloud minnows to the tank because they look great against the black backdrop and are honestly just really cool fish that I haven't kept in a long time. My favorite part about them is that they swim all over the tank using all the space they have, and they also like to swim in a school, which is fun to watch. I noticed that whenever I walk near the tank, they swim up to the
ओह डैम, कलर क्या बढ़िया कलर आए हैं भाई इन पे। देखो रेडिश एंड वो लाइन जो जा रहा है इनके वर्टिकली बॉडी पे। नाइस।
top, so I think they're trying to tell me that they want some food. I oblige and drop in a couple of pellets, and it turns out my hunch is correct because within seconds there's a feeding frenzy. Now the true test begins to see if the garlic and onions can continue to filter the water.
अभी देखने वाली बात यह है कि पता कैसे चलेगा कि ये फिल्टर आउट हो रहा चीज़ें। आई मीन इम्बैलेंस टैंक में पता चलता है बट वो बहुत माइनर होता है, स्पेशली इतने कम लोड ऑफ फिश वेस्ट के हिसाब से। द श्रिम्प एंड लॉट्स ऑफ
On day
ग्रोथ।
28, the growth has exploded. The garlic shoots are almost a foot long, and the onions are still trailing behind. Both of their roots are getting super long, and the minnows love swimming through them. I've been testing the water occasionally, and so far we've had 0 ammonia spikes. I would say this is a win for the garlic because it's proving it can filter the water pretty efficiently.
ओके, बेस्ड ऑन अजम्पशंस चल रहे हैं हम, तो ये चीज़ें तो मनी प्लांट भी कर सकता है बड़ा इजीली बिकॉज उसके भी रूट्स ऐसे ही बढ़ते हैं। आई मीन गार्लिक इज अ गुड प्लांट टू ग्रो लाइक दिस बिकॉज वो लंबे लंबे होंगे, बट मनी प्लांट इज़ मोर प्रेफरेबल बिकॉज वो जो बुश बनाते हैं बड़े बड़े लीव्स के साथ या फिर डेंसली कॉम्पैक्ट, अगर लाइट बढ़िया से मिलता है तो वो काफ़ी ज़्यादा बढ़िया लगता है इसके यू नो ऑल्टरनेटिव पे।
Glad the experiment's working, but it could be more fun by adding in a handful of orange neocaridina shrimp. I think these guys will love to hang out in the roots and feed on any biofilm or algae that's forming in the tank. Some of
That's
them are
good
reluctant to
quality
jump in,
shrimp.
but eventually they all make it and start grazing for food. The shrimp seems to love the place right away. I think this pop of color is just what the tank needed. And my hunch was correct because within minutes, one of the shrimp is hanging from the garlic roots.
इनके मुंह से बदबू नहीं आएगा लहसुन प्याज का।
He starts off by darting around and chasing one of the females. He also flares up his fins to show off a little bit. At first I thought he was bullying one of the fish, but quickly realized that wasn't the case. I think this whole interaction was making the shrimp feel weird because she turned away to give them some privacy. Eventually they both met in a corner of the tank and did their thing. I'm not sure if the female dropped any eggs or not, but I'm assuming if she did, they would be eaten by the other fish anyway. Still an interesting interaction to catch on camera. Next to that, one of the smaller shrimp is grazing on the driftwood, and the larger one is cleaning up some of the leaves.
But for the result, actually,
As the days pass, the plants keep growing and the garlic gets well over a foot tall. And the roots are super long and wide, vacuuming up all of the waste in the tank. The fish are all fired up and ready for some food, so I decide to try out this food that's supposed to stick to the glass. I gotta be honest, I was about to throw up because this stuff smelled so bad. I pressed it to the glass just like it said to on the instructions, and within 30 seconds or less, it floated to the top. I tried it with 5 different pieces and they all did the same thing, so I removed it and fed the fish their trusty flakes, which they immediately went crazy for. Random side note, I feel like I owe these guys a quality life because when I was younger, most aquarium stores near me sold them as feeder minnows, and I used to feed them to my cichlids. While I was filming them eating, I noticed this tiny speck on the glass, and I was curious what it was. When I got closer, I realized it was a baby shrimp, but I didn't remember adding any into the tank. I looked around and noticed another one on the garlic roots. I don't honestly remember if any of the shrimp I put in were pregnant or not, but I don't think so. Maybe a few baby shrimp snuck in with the big ones. I have to hop on a plane to Florida tomorrow for another video, so I'll be wrapping this experiment up a little bit earlier than I wanted, but let's break down the results and what happened. In 32 days, the garlic went from plain bulbs to 5 or 6 inch roots and shoots that were over a foot tall. I think that if given more time, the green onions would have caught up, but I mainly just had them in the tank for comparison. I read online that around this point, the growth will drastically slow down because they still need nutrients from soil that a fish tank simply can't provide. But overall, I think the garlic did filter the water quite a bit because I was running a lot of light on the tank and we had almost zero algae growth. If you made it to the end, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. You guys have been supporting.
चलो, बेस्ड ऑन assumptions था ये एक्सपेरिमेंट। आई मीन फिल्टर आउट कर सकता है ये, मतलब अगर आप एक फन टू डू एक्सपेरिमेंट करना चाहते हो लहसुन डाल के टैंक में, तो नहीं तो इट्स फाइन, यू गो विथ मनी प्लांट, ज़्यादा बढ़िया है। मनी प्लांट, पोथोस, या फिर आप जा सकते हो मॉन्स्टेरा वॉन्स्टेरा भी लगाओ, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। पीस लिली लगाओ, वो ज़्यादा बढ़िया दिखते हैं टेरेस्ट्रियल प्लांट्स इन कंपैरिजन टू दिस। ठीक है, इट वाज अ फन एक्सपेरिमेंट, इट वाज गुड टू वॉच, बट मेरा रिकमेंडेशन अलग रहेगा। ठीक है, मिलते हैं हम नेक्स्ट वाली वीडियो में। होपफुली इस वाली वीडियो के लिए बस इतना ही रहेगा। आपको पसंद आया होगा तो लाइक मारना, अगर नहीं आया होगा तो जस्ट लेट मी इन द कमेंट सेक्शन, क्या हम आगे कर सकते हैं। तब तक के लिए सी यू, बाय बाय।